everybody. Thank you for joining us. Today, our guest is Dawn Arnold, Mayor of Moncton. She's a great mother, friend, and a great community leader. So, you're originally from London, Ontario.
That's correct, yeah.
And you came down to New Brunswick when?
Oh my goodness. Good thing we have children. That's how I can remember the passage of time. So I have a 24-year-old son who was born here in Moncton. So it's been, over 24 years.
Wow. Was it like not necessarily like a culture shock, but pretty much, right? Like from Ontario to like...
It was interesting because I grew up in, a pretty rural area of Ontario. Like there was a tobacco field in my backyard. Wow. But then I went on to Toronto, to University of Toronto, and that is where I met my husband, and then we ended up following his career to Ottawa. So I often say that it was good to have Ottawa in the middle there because it's a slower paced life in a lot of ways than Toronto. So Toronto to Ottawa, Ottawa to Moncton.
Okay. So, well, Moncton obviously had changed a lot the last over 24 years. Yeah. What are the changes that you're very proud of?
Oh my goodness, so many of them. It's the city right now, the growth that we're experiencing, the diversity that we are seeing in our community is just, second to none. So, I'm really proud of that. I'm really proud of the vision that we had for our downtown in particular, to really focus on creating that density and vibrancy in our downtown core. Certainly lots of challenges, but it's really happening, and it really speaks to the fact that we came together as a community, we envisioned what could be possible, and it's happening. So that's pretty exciting.
That's great. Like as a mother and being a leader, how did it kind of affected or it kind of went differently with your kids? You see, like, because you step up and became a leader in our community, your kids want us to do the same thing.
Well, it's actually hard on your family doing this job sometimes. I find that my son, my husband, my daughter, they find it really challenging at times. Not the workload so much, but more just some of the feedback that I get. They find it, challenging. But ironically, my son was all set to follow his father's career a little bit more. He had been accepted into university to take biosciences. And when he helped me with my campaign, he's like, "Mom, I'm reapplying. I love this." So he ended up doing an undergrad in communications and political science at the University of Ottawa. He's now in his third year of law school, and very much driven by social change and being a social change agent in the world. So I guess
it's like a moment of proud mama there.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh, that's so good. And like for yourself, do you feel like it kind of changed a little bit of how you're thinking, how it kind of affected you? Like, is it something that for you now you feel like stronger to wanting to make a difference, of course, in our community, or you felt like now it's the time to learn more, to get to absorb a little bit more of what people are saying? Because I know, like, for your son, he's changed his mind, right? He's like, this is for me, this is what I want. Is it like the same thing for you?
Well, it's been quite a journey. I'm a decade in as a politician now. I was, a councillor at large for 4 years, and then 5 years as a mayor because of COVID. They added another year, and now there's another 5 years because of the local governance reform. So I would say that I'm, in a lot of ways, a very different person than when I started. For sure, my skin is a lot thicker, and you see the world in a different way when you really have the opportunity, because it's quite a privilege in this position to meet everybody. Sometimes people that are experiencing, real trauma in their lives and really, really sad things, but also those celebrations as well. And it's literally everything in between. And I find that in our society today, there is a real divide, and people are on the extremes. So I think my job as a leader is really to try and find that equilibrium, that balance in between those really extreme views often.
Oh, that's so true. And like, what was like an example for you that was hard for you to like kind of go past a little bit a situation that it was like, oh, that one was a little bit hard than usual?
Well, here's a kind of funny example. Well, not funny, but kind of. So I was experiencing a lot of online hate and continue to experience that. And we were just sort of grappling with how could we make lemonade out of these lemons. And so we got together, actually all three mayors of our tri-community, and we have, or had, an event called Mayors Read Mean Tweets. And so we framed it as a fundraiser for the United Way, and we were able to take some of these hateful messages and read them with a sunny voice and put it out there, and it became a good fundraiser for the United Way. So.
Oh, wow, that's interesting. I know like when I was running for the municipal elections, and we did have that conversation before, was that it was hard to be judged without even somebody getting the opportunity to really to get to know you, right? Do you feel like it's still hard for you of like reading those messages and be like, well, you kind of don't know who I am, my family, and what I'm about? Do you feel like it's still something that bothers you even now?
Less and less all the time. Yeah, you really do become quite accustomed to it, and you realize that, you know, people are coming from different places in life, and it's not always about you. Yeah. It's really, sometimes I think, particularly right now, there's a lot of frustration and anger after the last couple of years, and people are often just lashing out. So they want someone to blame, and you really can't take it personally, because you'd really be huddled up in a corner bawling your eyes out, right? Yeah. So yeah.
I love that. It's true, and just to give the chance to people to kind of put that aside, what happened the last few years, and try to work together, right? And you're somebody that I feel like you're always about helping one another. Is there something that was done in the community the last few years that you're very, very proud of?
Oh, well, not again, but still, our downtown, building the Avenir Center, opening a $113 million state-of-the-art sports and entertainment center on time and on budget. You know, I was at the Michael Bublé concert not long ago, and to see the place packed, to see people having such a fantastic time, and then to see our downtown just packed with people out at restaurants and bars. And, you know, part of the fun of events like that is the walk there, you know, and seeing other people that are also sharing your excitement. So, you know, really proud of that, and really proud of council for building it, and for, you know, staying resolute in, you know, in Moncton we talk about parking a lot, and there was a lot of pressure on council to just build a multi-level parking garage right beside it. And, you know, if we had done that, first of all, the Hilton and the Hyatt wouldn't be there, so we wouldn't have, you know, established those great commercial enterprises in our community. But also, think about it, people would not have gone out downtown. They would just drive into the parking garage, go to the show, go back to the parking garage, and then all having to leave at the same time. They'd have to pay, they'd be upset, you know, and it'd be a very frustrating experience. So now with this dispersed parking method, you know, people can find places around, and they think about it, and it becomes part of the experience. So. Yeah.
It totally makes sense though, because sometimes it's like that connection.
Absolutely.
It's making so many events there. You guys are doing different events, even if it comes from hockey, concerts. And I feel like that's important, because that's the things that connects people together, right?
Absolutely.
Everybody has fun. Everybody's laughing. The kids are laughing, you know? So I think, again, that's so true. And then at the same time, if you want to go to a restaurant before and after, it's right.
Yeah, and the Oval there too is such an important community gathering space as well, because when people come together and they can share experiences, I mean, we've been using it for a lot of really interesting things, whether it's Zumba classes or concerts, or, you know, watching you know, sporting events on big screens, or movies or whatever. It's just it's great to have that space, and that too is a challenge, you know. That's prime real estate right beside the Avenir Center. So council's commitment to ensuring that that space was there and, you know, protected and really livable and usable and flexible for a lot of different events. That was really important.
Talking about council, let's go back into my favorite subject, women in politics. Do you feel like we should have more women in council in our province for sure?
Well, obviously, absolutely. I think we make better decisions when we have a diversity of people around the table, different life experiences, different just experiences in life. You know, we all bring something different, but if we all look alike, sound alike, talk alike, think alike, we don't make good decisions. So democracy needs, you know, that diversity around those decision-making tables. So absolutely.
Do you think that that the reason why a lot of young women don't want to go into politics is because they feel like they're not going to be heard? First of all, because they're young, or because they're a woman.
Oh, for sure. And I've certainly had those conversations with young women. That's really something that motivates me, is to empower and mentor and sponsor young women to stand up and to ensure that their voices are heard, because they're really important voices.
When it comes to politics again and women in leadership, what do you want to see in our community in the future? What's something that you wish could happen?
Well, I'd like to see equity. I'd like to see, you know, a balance of you know, diverse faces and voices around the table, different ages is really important. You know, we have a long way to go on that. So I'm really hopeful that this younger generation who has grown up often, not always, but, you know, ranting, you know, on social media or different platforms, and to understand that their voices are powerful, but to do real advocacy, to do the work to change the system, you know, you need people that are willing to do that hard work to change the system, to make things better for others.
Do you feel like the younger generation have a hard time being okay of seeing a woman in power, or you feel like it's the total opposite, like we want more of that? And how can we actually go there? Like, what's the step for a young woman to want or to go into politics?
Well, I think among young people, I don't think they really see it anymore. Like, they think it's pretty normal to have a woman mayor. You know, I talk to a lot of young families, and they're like, well, my kids think that that's the way it is, you know, because that's all they've seen, right?
It's like my sons, they just love you. Oh, they're Mayor Dawn.
So, you know, so I don't think it's an issue at all, really, among younger people. So.
No, that's good. And it's true, though, because my kids, every time they see a picture of you, they're like, they're so proud and happy, you know. Especially my youngest, he's like, oh, she's so beautiful. And then he just stares at your picture. But it's kind of true, because especially for me, like, I love being out there and helping the community. And for them to see another woman doing that job and being mayor, you know, they're very proud of that. And I feel like it's very important to have more of that. But do you feel like you had a hard time when it came, like, for your position and for other male example, even women, kind of like respecting your words, or it was something that it was kind of more?
Well, I would say it's a process, you know, and I think initially when I ran, I don't feel that I got a lot of overt sexism. There wasn't anyone who said, oh, she can't do it because she's a woman, but it was much more subtle. It was things like, oh, will she be able to make the tough decisions? Will she be able to handle the pressure? You know, it was more subtle like that. Yeah,
I know I had one question many times. It was the same thing all the time, and usually came from men, and they were asking me if I was gonna be able to balance, because I was a young mother. And they were like, oh, so how are you going to do it? You have kids, young kids. Like, how are you going to be able to balance this and that and whatever? And it was a question for a little while that I was kind of like upset to hear, because they would not ask that to another man. that has a family also. Was that something that you had to struggle and balance with your family?
Perhaps a little bit, but my kids were older too when I got into this. But I have had quite a number of people say, "Oh, well, what does your husband think about this?" I'm like, "What does that have to do with anything?" But like, it's great to have somebody who's got your back when you come home. And I don't know how people do a job like this if they don't have that support system.
Yeah. And I feel like that's really important, right? Because if you have that fire inside of you and you want to make a difference in the community, in the world, or whatnot, and you have somebody who's putting you down, it won't work. Right?
Oh my goodness, no. You need to have somebody that no matter what loves you unconditionally and is going to be there for you when you come home and go, what am I going to do?
So yes, like that, I think that's really important, right? If you have somebody like you have, your husband is very understanding and supportive. Your kids exactly knew what you were doing, where you were going. So yes, you have those moments that you just want to cry and you have that person, right?
Yes.
So.
Oh yeah, there are quite a few of those over the years. Yeah.
Is there something that you would like the community of the Greater Moncton to know about you?
About me?
Yes.
I guess that I love this city. Yeah, that I love what it stands for. I love the way we have two cultures that, coexist so harmoniously, and more cultures coming all the time. And the people. I mean, the people here are so kind and so helpful and so committed. I mean, it's we have something very, very special in Moncton that I don't know that everybody appreciates just how special it is. Like I work with a lot of newcomers, and when they talk about Moncton, and what they've dealt with over their lives, things like peace, order, good government, we find those boring here, but when you don't have them, it's pretty rough. So we just have this, we have a really incredible community here.
Yeah, that's so true, because I remember when I came from Dominican here, I kind of felt a love for Moncton, but I was young. And I always said, like, when I'm going to turn 18, I'm going to Toronto, Vancouver, big cities, I never left. I stayed here. I love myself for Moncton, and I kind of understand the people are very loving and caring, and when a situation happens, the community comes together, always, right? Yeah. And I think it has to do a lot with the leadership that we have also, right? So I have to say thank you to you for that.
Thank you, Diani.
As we were talking earlier, with the growth of Moncton, obviously we're having more newcomers coming here, new businesses, restaurant. What do you feel like it's bringing to our community?
So many things, for sure, investment dollars and businesses, absolutely. But they're also bringing this color and knowledge. A lot of newcomers give me a lot of interesting feedback. They've had these vast experiences elsewhere, and so they have suggestions and feedback. And additionally, celebrations. I've been to so many different celebrations that are, like, Diwali is coming up. We've got all these different celebrations, and what a great thing as a community to be able to come together, dance, explore new tastes and flavors. And I think it's those sights, sounds, tastes, colors that they bring, but also they make us better. They question some of the things that we've been doing for years, and we're like, oh, I don't know why we've been doing it that way forever. What an interesting idea to think about a new way to do this. So I think it's so many great things. And we need them. We need newcomers here. I talk about workforce all day long, every day. People are really concerned about, being able to provide the services and finding employees to work here. So we need newcomers. We also need young families. Our demographics are not fantastic. So newcomer families that will reinvigorate our community are absolutely vital.
Yeah, that's so true. And I feel like when it comes to newcomers, like you said, it's not only bringing different flavors, it's beautiful to see, right? Because I didn't realize it, but I have a friend of mine, they're from here, and she was asking me like, hey, like how can I bring my kids like around other cultures? And I was like, well, like just go somewhere, right? And I thought for me it was easy, but I didn't realize that my kids were always we're in a mixed family, right? My brother's married to a Mexican. My partner is a Canadian. My sister's married to an African. So our family is diverse. So I never had to worry about my kids seeing different culture, experiencing different things, the language, and made me realize like how beautiful it is. Like even now, like my kids, like everybody's their friends. And they're so curious about like what's your language, what's the taste, what is like everything, where is it, can I Google it, what does it look like, right? And I think it's very beautiful to have this young generation being curious.
Oh, it's fantastic.
And asking questions, right? That's the only way we learn. My kids right now, they're speaking Japanese.
Oh my goodness.
They can count in Japanese, they know a few words in Japanese, they're curious about the culture of Japan. Even if, they will meet somebody from India, they will be curious about like, what are you saying? Like, so I think it's beautiful to have that in our community.
Oh, it sure is. In the before times, we'd always have this big Christmas Eve party where we just like opened the doors to everyone in the community they wanted to drop by, but had a particular invitation for, international students who weren't going home for the holidays, and they would come, and they often would wear their formal dress clothes from their tradition. And the beauty for me was in my neighbors in suburbia, having this opportunity to meet these students and just go, wow, these people are incredible. Yeah. When you realize particularly refugees, but also international students, how hard it is to leave your home and go to a brand new culture that you know nothing about in the middle of winter, or, like already you've had to have a lot of intentionality about what you want to do in your life, and thought deeply about something like this. So it's pretty incredible.
It's a hard thing to do something like that, and I admire people that have that strength to do it. Right? I don't know if I would.
Yeah, no, it's tough. Well, we do live in the best country in the world, so
yeah, exactly.
In the best city in the country.
Yeah.
What's one advice you would give to the newcomers here in Moncton?
Just network, get involved, volunteer, get to know your neighbors. And I find sometimes some of the feedback I get is that they sometimes will find more established New Brunswickers a bit stilted with them. And I think it's more because we don't want to offend. Yeah. We don't want to upset anyone. So, not that it's fair, but, newcomers, if they go to their neighbor and just say, hi, I'm here, and vice versa. But I mean, it's an education process too. For a lot of years, New Brunswick wasn't very diverse. So for a lot of people, this is new. I think of my mother-in-law, she's 87, and she, oh boy, maybe she's not 87. I shouldn't say that. She'll get really mad at me. She's in her mid-80s. When she meets these students at Christmas time, like for her, it's just such a gift. And they always end up talking about the same thing. What was the favorite meal that your mom made for you? It always comes back to food, And I just think that there's so much value in that.
Food definitely connects people together.
Yeah. And we all need to, educate ourselves a little bit on all of this, and to be open-hearted and have an open mind about what is possible. That's how we'll make things better.
Yeah, that's so true. I remember just when you were talking about Christmas. So we have a tradition every year after I do my big Christmas supper with the family. The leftovers, we'll pack them and bring them to the homeless or at the Harvest House. And every time they open it, and they're like, "Oh my God, what is this? Oh, that looks so good."
Oh, I've tasted your food. It's good.
It's different, right? It's not the same thing. The flavors are not the same thing. So it was kind of interesting of hearing them say like, "Oh my God, like, where are you from? Oh my, that's really good." I was like,
Do you cook turkey?
yes, we're just different tastes of from the traditional Canadian one, but yeah, it's kind of like something beautiful to see. And again, food connects people, and we have to be open and just go after and just ask questions. And I feel like being like
curious.
Be like a kid again.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? My kids are never like shy to ask a question, and so I feel like we should be more kids and open-minded and wanting to learn from somebody else, right?
Yeah, I think curiosity is a very good thing.
Yeah. So that's awesome. Thank you so much for sitting down with me. Like, you're incredible, and what you're doing for our community, like, just don't stop. You know that we support you, and you're doing so great. And I know that my kids are so proud of you.
I have to get them on the Mayor's Youth Advisory Committee.
They're so proud of you, and it's kind of beautiful to see like their eyes light up when either they hear your name or they see your picture, see you. I think it's beautiful to see that, and for them to see that there's a lot of women here that can make a difference, and they make choices for our community, for the future. That they're gonna be in. So I thank you very much for that, and just to keep the good work.
Oh, thank you, Diani.
Keep the good work, and we're always here for you. Thank you everybody for listening. Stay tuned for the next guest we're gonna have. Thank you.